Okay, we are live, just waiting for Dee to come on. Hello, everybody. We are here on the final day, day 7 of the 16x book club challenge. The 16x book is based on the Pareto Principle, which is that 80% of your results come from 20% of your efforts. And based on this, you can get 16 times better results. Activity. So, Dee's just getting on here, and today we are going to look at the final chapter, which is best ideas. And yesterday we looked at recruit the support of potent allies. Did you want to add anything about from yesterday, Dee, before we move on to today's chapter?
Yeah, the thing I want to add and check is how's my connection?
Okay. You cut off a little bit for one of the words you said, but I think it's okay.
Yeah, that is so crazy. It's so crazy that every time I come into a live, I don't have a proper connection. Okay, so what do I want to add to? Yeah, sorry about my abrupt departure. Sundays are just crazy for my family. I can't even tell you how crazy. I think just in terms of like recruiting the support of allies, important takeaway is you can't do it alone. It's really important to find people that align with your vision, that you can work with. And the way you can do that is first you have to have a crystal clear vision yourself. You can't have people align with you if you yourself are not clear as to where you're going. So that's the most important thing. You have to have a very set vision of where you're going and then tell the stories to bring people with you.
Yeah, but I want to say it could also be a feeling or a direction that you're heading towards. It doesn't have to be like a concrete vision, right? Because sometimes you don't know. And that's the difference between causal and being effectual as well. At some points in time, you have to be super effectual, depending on the situation and what kind of information you have. So I just wanted to like...
Yeah, because sometimes it does start with a feeling and then you start exploring with the feel towards that. So yeah. But often, you know, in my experience, you don't really have allies at that stage. Because until you can actually formulate something with someone, it's hard to bring people along because that feeling is within you and it's within the invisible crevices of your own, you know, being. It still has to be formulated for other people to come along the journey with you. So yeah, hopefully people will only come along when they know what they're coming along for.
Okay, no, I do that. And one of the most important things that I've noticed is go for something like a moonshot. That excites people and makes people want to work with you, as opposed to something that's incremental improvement. Because
Yeah.
if you want allies, you have to figure out what really drives them and what excites them. And typically, it's not something that's like a little bit better. It's something that's a moonshot, something that's completely, like, for example, SpaceX wants to colonize Mars. I don't know if they still want to do that. Yeah, but I have that image in my mind, right? Which is like something insane. It sounds insane to me, anyways. But that is what gets so many people to work there for like eight days a week. I know there's 7 days a week, but that's what I'm saying. Like people are literally working weekends.
Yeah.
So how do you get people excited for that? And I think that's a very powerful way to do that.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Varsha, how's it going? It's my friend there. Good to see you here. Okay, all right. So are we going to do chapter 8, recycle the world's best ideas?
We are. Hello, everybody. We are here to chapter 8 now. Yeah. Is there anything? Did you want to read out the beginning again?
I would.
Or?
So you remember the time when I said creating white space for innovation was my most favorite chapter ever? I've changed my mind. This is my most favorite chapter ever.
Someone's asking what book it is. It's the 16X by Richard Koch. It'll be in the description.
Yeah, and just in context, it's basically a book that synthesizes the 80-20 principle, which 80% of your results come from 20% of your efforts and activities. So where do you want to put the best 20% of your energy, efforts, and activities in order to get 80% of the results? And really just the fundamental principles of how to become effective. So today we're going to be covering the chapter, the world's best ideas. Hey, Abs. So the usual, if I cut off, you might want to read the quote. Uh,
I'll just read it then. Let me just do that. That way,
Sounds good.
um, 80% of value is created by concentrating on 20% of issues within a market, by innovating accordingly. 80% of value comes from 20% of changes. What demands? Who is driving progress? How? Could you copy it, do it cheaper, take it to a new place, or take it further? Which is like awesomely insane.
Right? Exactly. I love it because a lot of people think that innovation just has to be, completely, yes, there is the blue ocean type of innovation, but even blue ocean is bringing two ideas together and synthesizing them to create a blue ocean. So there is really nothing that is completely innovative in and of itself. Everything is built off of other fundamental principles. So I just love that because, you know, like if you keep your mind open enough and your eyes open enough, you can find areas that you can borrow from somewhere else as well. And did you want to go through the 10 greatest business ideas of all time?
I was also thinking that we can go through that, and if possible, we could give examples if like whatever comes to mind,
Yeah.
because I very very important. Yeah. So in the chapter, they have the 10 great business ideas of all time, and they basically listed 10 things. And the suggestion is, well, I shouldn't say they because I think the author is just one person. So he lists these 10 things, and he basically says that if you want to innovate, you just apply 10 into whatever you're working on, or a combination of them. And when you apply them, you'll get massive breakthroughs or some new innovation, a new angle, and that'll really create something very interesting and potentially very powerful. Um, so number one is market leadership, which is to be the biggest of your type. I can think of Amazon.
Yeah, totally.
Number two is low cost volume. Be the cheapest.
China.
Um,
The entire
I because I thought of I'm like Alibaba China. I thought the same thing.
Walmart, I guess. Like a North American example is definitely Walmart.
But I mean, think of like grocery stores, right? Which are competing for being the cheapest. Yeah, so like department stores where they're like, we are the best because we're the cheapest and we'll price match everything.
Hmm.
Like, and then three is build on your strengths. Make your best attributes even stronger.
Who can you think of with regards to this?
I think this is more about like let's say individually for us, for example, if we know what our strengths are, then we can focus on that.
You know what? It reminds me of Zappos before they got acquired by Amazon. Are you aware of the company, Tony Che? Uh,
The shoe delivery is that? Am I thinking of that right then?
to like a shoe e-commerce store, and they essentially best of their kind, and he even kind of like popularized this whole delivering happiness within a corporation. And
Okay.
and building a very strong culture. So I think what they built on was their strength, which is they did shoes really, really, really well. And they had a very strong corporate culture. And they set the corporate culture front and center, and it was a part of their story. And at the end of the day, it's only shoes, it's not rocket science. Um, and because they were so significant, acquired by Amazon, and this was, we're talking about now 10 years ago or 15 years ago, perhaps, so they got acquired by Amazon. So that's who I can think of, Zappos. I would say Lululemon perhaps for athletic gear. They built on their strengths, which is athletic yoga gear. They start a specific niche. When I hear build on your strengths, I think of niche companies that have a niche and they really, really kind of like showcase the strength of that specific niche.
It's funny because I also think of like what I'm doing in terms of my coaching, which is I am looking at the very specific attributes and building onto those,
Right.
which is like what like entrepreneurial meditators. Like these are types of people that I'm looking for, or meditative entrepreneurs, whatever. Like the soul entrepreneurs, right? The people that are coming from their heart.
Mm.
Um, you know, and then so based off that, I focus on that, on how that aligns with me, get that vibration in, and then just be like, yo, I'm here. and it's a strength of mine. That's what I'm saying here, which is like, um, it's that you leveraging the uniqueness, and
Yeah.
that becomes your. So
Yeah.
number four, yeah, and then number four is delegate, train a lower cost person.
Uh,
Um, I
yeah.
think that. Oh,
This basically like if you when you're hiring a VA assistant would be an
yeah,
example how you'd be delegating and doing a lot of administrative work. So I have a social media marketing assistant who does a
mhm,
lot of management on social media. So that would be an example of delegating.
exactly. And then five is self-service, make the customer do the heavy lifting, which is an example of my coaching. My clients do the heavy lifting in their life. But it's a kind of a training because I'm not there to do their work for them. I'm there to empower them so that they get trained and then they can go further and create exponential results. So that's self-service. And then six is subtract something, differentiate by deleting. Um, hmm. I think of Apple when Steve Jobs came back in and they had like something like 100 products, and then was like, no, we're just gonna work on like these two things
Right.
uh, that are doing really well, which are
Yeah.
produced, which 20% producing 80, or even not even 20%, the 2% of products maybe producing, like 98% of the revenue. And then Steve was like, we're gonna focus on this. So that's what I think of when I think of subtract something.
Yeah. Spot
And
on.
then yeah, create a new niche category. Split an existing category into two.
Hmm.
I
Who
have
can
something. I'm doing this consciously right now, and it comes from the 22 Laws of Marketing, which is creating categories. So another book is Category King, which was written by I think it was written by people from the Stanford Design Lab. I'm not sure, but it is like you create a new category for yourself, and you become the king of that category, and then nobody else can. So what they're saying is split an existing category into two. It's like right now that's what I'm doing. That nobody else is working on a specific kind of category, and I'm like, let me take this and this, put it together, create something new that is very specific to these types of people, or people even outside of that. But they see me and they're like, there's nobody else like this. This guy is like the best. Or they might see that, wow, there's nobody else that is doing it as good as him, even if they try to compare me. So
That's
that's positioning myself as a category king.
right. You're totally right. And who I can think of well is
Mm-hmm.
Jay because he was a former monk and then spiritual teacher slash coach slash podcaster, and I think what he did was really he did that really well. And then the way that he owned it is he started spotlighting celebrities who are on their own spiritual journeys, and that became kind of his niche, and I can't think of anybody else that has does
Oh,
that.
there's a few people that I've come across, but they're not like as famous as he is. I think it was the founders of Headspace. He was a monk for like 10 years,
Okay.
Buddhist. Then he came and then he founded Headspace. And then I think this other lady, she's one of the founders of WeWork. She was like 10 years with Dalai Lama, and then like co-founded WeWork. But that's a little different. That's not into like
But you
this.
see, right? Category
But
king.
huh?
He's the category, Jay Shetty's
Yeah,
category is the
exactly.
moment former monk who then became mainstream spiritual teacher. You think of it, right?
Exactly. And then eight, personalize. Let customers tailor your offering. Well, I do that. I speak to my potential customers who wants to work with me, and then based on who they are and where they want to go, the offering is created based particularly on them. I mean, they're not. Yeah, I let them tailor their offerings. Another thing is like you want to get a bespoke suit. You're going to go to the tailor and then base tailor.
Yeah, that's right. I can't remember the name of the company now, but they essentially will do bespoke clothing for men. They will create the clothing for you, and I don't know why I can't remember them. They're just really huge in the U.S. and they'll essentially send you a box every single week or every other 2 weeks with like the outfits for the week, and then
Mm,
you bring them and then you'd send them back. I can't remember what they're called now, but they are an example of like personalization based on your taste.
mm-hmm. And I think there's a lot of stuff like this personalization happening now because personalization is not something that was available to masses on, but now it's
Yeah.
something technology we're able to bring to. thousands, even millions of people, whereas before it was like only for a select few.
Right.
So I think it's super powerful
Right.
here. So if we're looking at the 10 great business ideas of all time, which is taking personalization, bringing that to the masses in an innovative way with new technologies and new business model innovations, that is super powerful. And the number 9 is do it faster. Use speed to justify a higher price tag while lowering production costs. That's like what do you call it? Like if you pay more for delivery, right? That gives me an example.
Yeah, I guess Prime would be cool, which is if you to justify your Prime membership, you need speed of delivery to be able to justify it. So that would be an example for sure.
Or any food delivery in general. Let's just say,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Yeah,
like Eats, DoorDash, whatever, or pizza
yeah.
delivery.
And
Most of
actually,
those.
now has like stratified it even further. Like if you want to priority order, and then you would just pay extra if you're doing priority. And I just noticed that it's a new feature on Uber Eats.
Referring to when I said like premium order, but I didn't know what it's called. I was like priority order. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, priority order. Okay.
So obviously they're kind of like layering a variety of ideas, right? Uber obviously will like Uber Eats will personalize the like you will choose what you want and that'll get delivered to you. So that's personalization. And then within that they have a stratification, which is faster. If you want a priority order, you're paying more for the doing it faster. So it's not that with any specific business you will have one business idea and yet. Essentially, you can bring together a few different business ideas and layer them upon each other.
And they even build on their strengths. First, it was Uber, right, as a cab, and then they're like, how can we use our resources and build on our strengths? And then adding Uber Eats because it's the same people.
Right.
But if they're a little more available, then they can just have them do delivery in between. So they're just making more use of their resources. That's also building on their strengths. So it takes a lot of and then number 10 is do it smaller. Go little to reduce costs and increase convenience.
I don't know if you've ever read by the Basecamp founders. Rework is an example. So they are basically a software company. They're a product management software company, and they made a choice to be and to be very highly specialized in the products that they build. So that would be an example of a company that does it smaller and is therefore bigger. And for a really long time, I don't know if that's the case anymore, but they were synonymous with project management software. I don't know if that's the case anymore. And even team management software, they might be over by other companies. And there's also another book called Small Giants by Burlington, I think his name is Bo something, Bo Burlington. That's an example of another book I recommend, which is you don't always have to be the biggest. That you could be small, nimble, and very active and service, X percentage of clients in the market and be extremely good at that because building something to scale to be the biggest is not everyone's cup of tea. So that's why this is such a good business model.
And the other thing is it's also important to know where you're headed and why you're headed there and what your values are, what drives you, what your priorities are, because that determines which of these you would actually apply and how you would apply them in order to
Right.
get to where you. Because it's not like you just say, okay, I'm just going to try and do this so I can grow. Like, but why are you growing? Like, why does that matter to you? How does it affect you and the way that you live? How does that affect everybody else involved? And I think that's not something that should be overlooked. That's the first thing in getting clarity on that on yourself, like you said earlier at the beginning, right when we started. That is like step number one.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you want to read the last quote when we
Yeah.
end off? From the
Yeah.
end off?
Yeah. But this one, right? But before that, I just want to read this other one. Originality usually amounts only to plagiarizing something unfamiliar. That speaks volumes as to you're showing up and saying um, nothing is totally new. You're just taking it from a different place. So it's not copying because it's not exactly the same, but you're still copying. But that's like stealing like an artist, right? Which is like the power of innovation here. That's what we're talking about, just stealing. So this one, right? You're referring to?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I can do that. The power of the 80-20 principle lies in the fact that it is not fully intuitive. Although we do expect some things to be more important than others, we don't expect the differences between the important things and the less important things to be anywhere near as great as they usually are. Less is more is a useful catchphrase because it reminds us that much of what we do, when closely analyzed, has negative value. Many activities, customers, products, and suppliers actually subtract value, which helps to explain why their positive counterparts produce such a high proportion of net value.
And I love that because it comes back to what the essence of the book is. Then the essence of the book is that you do less to achieve more. And I just really love it. And for everyone that's just joined, we're referring to the book 16X. We just spent an entire week reading it and analyzing how we would potentially apply this in our own lives. And we were sharing experiences of how we did that. So the essence of this book really is do less to achieve more, which is incredible, isn't it?
And I just want to share, like, as we've been going through this, I've had some revelations. Even though I've read the book, going through it together, I've had some revelations and applied it. This morning, I had an onboarding call, a kickoff call to join a startup. And when I spoke with them over a month ago, my business was in a certain place, and I was in a certain place. And since then, I joined an accelerator, and things have been going really fast in a particular direction. And so I met with the founder and CEO today, and I told her, I said, look, when we met over a month ago, this is where I was, and this is how things were. And I told you that in the future, this is what the possibilities for us could be. But today, hey Ariana, hey Shalin, but then today when I met her, after we read this book, I realized that what I'm doing can be more aligned with what I want. And that 20% spike is not going to be aligned with me joining them and working with them on what they want in that particular role. So I had that conversation. I told her, look, those priorities have changed. They've shifted. My life has gone in a totally different direction. And before we even move forward with anything, I want to let you know about this. And we had a very real and frank conversation. And at the end of it, we decided that in the future, we're open to collaboration. But at this point in time, considering what they need, I said, it's just not going to make sense because I can't support you long term. And even if I want to work for a few weeks, it would take away from my attention and energy into what I'm doing here. That might make me a little bit of money, but it's going to subtract the value in terms of what I really want to create. And I wouldn't be aligned with what I truly want. And I would be out of integrity. And I wouldn't be showing up for my clients in the way that serves them best. And that's more important than anything. And I'm just like, holy crap. Just like going through this and discussing it has been that powerful in identifying what that 20% is, or even more, what that 1% is, right? Because that is like 1,600 times or more improvement, not just 16 times improvement. And I think
Right.
that's incredible. So I just wanted to share that this journey has had that kind of an impact on me. Yeah.
Awesome. We totally didn't do this to have that sort of impact. It's more so just to review the book together. But
Yeah.
I'm so glad it's had that kind of impact on you. You know,
Yeah.
I think I've shared at the beginning of the week, and nothing's really changed for me in the sense that it's given me a clear strategy how I'm going to break down my activities in terms of building the social media community and building the app, and how I can kind of focus on the 20% efforts in both categories to accomplish 80% of the results. So I think the book really kind of honed in on that discipline for me. So that's the lens under which now I'm evaluating all my activities for the fall and the winter. I'll have something to report back in 6 months to see how effective I really was, because it is a longer term application. Yeah, I'm excited to see what. Oh, whoops, I'm
Yeah.
back.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. Oh, that was my battery got low, so it just kind of paused the live. But yeah, I think it's
For one thing, you.
Oh, sorry, you just cut out there. I think your Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I hear you now. I was saying that I'm glad. I said I'm glad that for once it was you and not me. because it's such
But
annoying.
immediately after that, it was you.
Of course it was. Well, thank you, Abs. This was a real pleasure. Thanks so
Thank you.
much for the journey.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, maybe we will come back with another book in the future. We enjoyed this, and it was powerful for both of us, and I think it was for whoever was joining in. I think receiving some messages, it was very beautiful to hear about the impact that's had on some of you.
Yeah, do you want to share a couple ideas that we had for the books that we wanted to possibly come back with? Maybe tell them about the one on leadership.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're thinking of a few books. So let us know what you think. One of them is Storybrand by Donald Miller, for those of you that are interested in business and growing business in communication and storytelling. And the other one is 15 Commitments of Conscious Leadership. And that's the one that I think would be very impactful as well, because it's about 15 areas and how you can shift your paradigm from a victim to a creator across those different areas. So areas like curiosity and allies and different things. And this is also a book. I haven't read the book, but I use the principles from the book. So I think it'd be a great opportunity to actually go through and read the entire book. But that's something that I think would be very powerful. But if there's any other books anybody else would like us to um, go through together, you can definitely let us know.
You know,
Yeah, is there any?
throw in there because we've talked about this today is potentially the 22 immutable laws of marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's another really simple book, and it's such an important book and changer. And the principles are essentially universal and timeless for anybody that's running a business or wanting to run a business. So I think that's another book I'm going to throw into the mix. So I don't know what
Yeah,
people want to read or want to request, but do request, and we can follow through.
yeah. We might do this. I think the next one could be in November. Right, that's it. Maybe like the beginning of November. So yeah, let us know by then. Let us know today. Otherwise, you might not remember by November what you want. But yeah, I actually spoke to one person, and she was like really curious about the 15 commitments. So, but we'll see. Okay, did you want to add anything? I guess we can close off now.
Yeah,
Or
we're good.
yeah, actually, we can open up the floor for questions if anyone has any questions, because we have quite a few people here um, that are joined in. Does anybody have any questions on the book or on anything else? Okay, I guess no questions. So we can close this off. Okay. Thank you, everyone. See you.
Thank you. Here. Bye.